Hey everyone, we're back with a Raisin the Sun. This is our last week. The next week after this one is finals week, so I'm not going to be giving you any more readings. So, congratulations, you made it this far. Okay, so we're starting in scene 2. I'm going to put your page numbers in the description box because they're different than mine. Scene 2. Time, Friday night, a few weeks later. At Rise. Packing crates mark the intention of the family to move. Benita and George come in, presumably from an evening out again. George. Okay, whatever you say. They both sit on the couch. He tries to kiss her. She moves away. Look, we've had a nice evening. Let's not spoil it, huh? He again turns her head and tries to nuzzle in, and she turns away from him, not with distaste, but with momentary lack of interest, in a mood to pursue what they were talking about. So what we're seeing here is a huge lack of consent. Benita clearly doesn't want to kiss George. He keeps trying to do it, and she doesn't want to kiss him. She wants to talk to him instead. And that's really important. Like, if someone doesn't want to kiss you, you shouldn't keep trying to do it. You should see what they actually want and respect them, and George is clearly already not doing that. Benita. I'm trying to talk to you. George. We always talk. Benita. Yes, and I love to talk. George. Exasperated, rising. I know it, and I don't mind it sometimes. I want you to cut it out, see? The moody stuff, I mean. I don't like it. You're a nice-looking girl all over. That's all you need, honey. Forget the atmosphere. Guys aren't going to go for the atmosphere. They're going to go for what they see. And that's all you need, honey. The atmosphere means it does not matter if you're smart. You just need to be pretty. Oh, man, I'm so mad at George, personally, because he's basically saying, I only care about your looks. I don't care that you're smart. I don't care that you want to be a doctor. I don't care about basically the parts of Benita that make her who she is. He's like, I just care that you're pretty. That's all you need. What an ass. I don't like him. And then he keeps talking. Be glad for that. Drop the Garbo routine. It doesn't go with you. As for myself, I want a nice, and then he's groping her, which means he's trying to touch her. Simple, thoughtfully, sophisticated girl, not a poet, okay? He starts to kiss her, she rebuffs him again, and he jumps up. So he keeps trying to touch her. He's saying he just wants a girl who looks nice, who's like maybe a little bit thoughtful, basically who maybe just agrees with him all the time. And then he tries to kiss her again, and rebuff means rejects him. So she doesn't let him kiss her again, and then he jumps up because she rejected him. He seems, I don't know, seems like his ego's bruised a little bit. Benita. Why are you angry, George? George, because this is stupid. I don't want to go out with you to discuss the nature of quiet desperation or to hear all about your thoughts because the world will go on thinking what it thinks regardless. Benita, then why read books? Why go to school? George, with artificial patience, counting on his fingers. So, fake patience, basically. It's simple. You read books to learn facts, to get grades, to pass the course, to get a degree. That's all. It has nothing to do with thoughts. A long pause. Okay. So we get a little bit deeper into George here because he's saying our thoughts don't matter. What we as African American people, as Black people, say doesn't matter. The world's going to go on regardless. So why not basically assimilate to be more like the world? He's saying that he and Benita need to be more like how the world currently is and not try to change it so much, which is a really defeatist attitude. It's someone who isn't even fighting to make things better for everyone else. It's someone who's maybe not fine, but okay with things being the way they are, even though they're not great. Hi. Benita. I see. He starts to sit. Good night, George. George looks at her a little oddly and starts to exit. He meets Mama coming in. George. Oh, hello, Mrs. Younger. Mama. Hello, George. How are you feeling? George. Fine. Fine. How are you? Mama. Oh, a little tired. You know them steps can get you after a day's work. Y'all have a nice time tonight? George. Yes. A fine time. A fine time. Mama. Well, good night. George. Good night. He exits. Mama closes the door behind her. Mama. Hello, honey. What you sitting like that for? Beneatha. I'm just sitting. Mama. Didn't you have a nice time? Beneatha. No. Mama. No? What's the matter? Beneatha. Mama, George is a fool. Honest. She rises. Mama. Hustling around unloading the packages she has entered with. She stops. Is he, baby? Beneatha. Yes. Beneatha makes up Travis's bed as she talks. And remember, Travis's bed is the couch. Mama. You sure? Beneatha. Yes. Mama. Well, I guess you better not waste your time with no fools. Beneatha looks up at her mother, watching her put groceries in the refrigerator. Finally, she gathers up her things and starts into the bedroom. At the door, she stops and looks back at her mother. So, yeah, Mama is saying to stop wasting her time with George. Like, if you don't think he's good for you, you should let him go. Beneatha. Mama. Mama. Yes, baby. Beneatha. Thank you. Mama. For what? Beneatha. For understanding me this time. She exits quickly and the mother stands, smiling a little, looking at the place where Beneatha just stood. Ruth enters. Okay, so Mama's made Beneatha happy because she's finally supporting that Beneatha doesn't like George. Finally. Because everyone wanted Beneatha to marry George because he's rich, and it seemed like Beneatha might even partially have been going along with it because that's what her family wanted. And now Beneatha is finally saying, like, I can't do this anymore. And Mama's like, that's fine. Don't marry him. You don't need to be with him because he's rich. You can go for who you want. And she's really thankful for that. Because she also said, for understanding me this time, Beneatha has said many times that she doesn't want to be with George. Okay, Ruth. Now don't you fool with any of this stuff, Lena. Mama. Oh, I just thought I'd sort a few things out. Is brother here? Ruth. Yes. Mama. With concern. Is he? Ruth. Reading her eyes. Yes. Mama is silent and someone knocks on the door. So, with that, it's like, I think they're asking, is he drunk again? Is basically what they're asking. And Ruth said yes to Mama. Yes, Walter is drunk again. Mama is silent and someone knocks on the door. Mama and Ruth exchange weary and knowing glances, and Ruth opens it to admit the neighbor, Mrs. Johnson, who is a rather squeaky, wide-eyed lady of no particular age with a newspaper under her arm. Okay, and Mrs. Johnson has a little asterisk by her name. Let's see if I can show it to you. Let's see, right there. That's an asterisk, which shows you that there's a footnote. So I'm going to read you the footnote. This character and the scene of her visit were cut from the original production and early edits of the play. So originally Mrs. Johnson wasn't seen as very important. But later on, as the play kept going on, it seems like they added her back into the play, but often she's cut from the script. Okay. Mama, changing her expression to acute delight and a ringing, cheerful greeting. Oh, hello there, Johnson. Johnson, this is a woman who decided long ago to be enthusiastic about everything in life, and she is inclined to wave her wrist vigorously at the height of her exclamatory comments. Hello there yourself. How are you this evening, Ruth? Ruth, not much of a deceptive type. Fine, Miss Johnson. And you? Johnson, fine. Reaching out quickly, playfully, and patting Ruth's stomach. Ain't you starting to poke out none yet? She mugs with delight at the overfamiliar remark, and her eyes dart around, looking at the crates and packing preparation. Mama's face is a cold sheet of endurance. "Oh, ain't we getting ready round here, though? Yes, sir. Look at there. I'm telling you, the youngers is really getting ready to move on up a little higher. Bless God." Mama, a little dryly, doubting the total sincerity of the blesser. "Bless God." Johnson, "He's good, ain't he?" She's saying God is good, ain't he? Isn't God good? Mama, "Oh yes, he's good." Johnson, "I mean, sometimes he works in mysterious ways, but he works, don't he?" Mama, the same. "Yes, he does." Johnson, "I'm just so happy for you all, and this here child," about Ruth, "looks like she could just pop open with happiness, don't she? Where's all the rest of the family?" Mama, "Benny's gone to bed." Johnson, "Ain't no," the implication is pregnancy, "sickness done hit you, I hope." Mama, "No, she just tired. She was out this evening." Johnson, all is a coo and an empathetic coo, which means everything is said very softly and lovingly. "Ah, ain't that lovely? She's still going out with that little Murchison boy?" Mama, dryly, "Mm-hmm." Johnson, "That's lovely. You sure got lovely children, younger. Me and Isaiah talks all the time about what fine children you were blessed with. We sure do." Mama, Ruth give Miss Johnson a piece of sweet potato pie and some milk. Johnson, "Oh, honey, I can't stay hardly a minute. I just dropped in to see if there was anything I could do," accepting the food easily. "I guess y'all seen the new what's all over the colored paper this week." Mama, "No, didn't get mine yet this week." And so what she's talking about is the African American newspapers. Johnson, lifting her head and blinking with the spirit of catastrophe. So that means something bad is happening. "You mean you ain't read about them colored people that was bombed out of their place out there?" Ruth straightens with concern and takes the paper and reads it. Johnson notices her and feeds commentary. So they weren't like physically bombed, but they were forced out of a white neighborhood. And remember that Mama has just had them buy a house. She just bought a house in a white neighborhood, and they're getting ready to move there. So now this is going to cause worry that they might get kicked out of the place they're moving to. Johnson, "Ain't it something how bad these here white folks is getting here in Chicago? Lord, getting so you think you right down in Mississippi," with a tremendous and rather insincere sense of melodrama. "Course, I think it's wonderful how our folks keep on pushing out. You hear some of those Negroes round here talking about how they don't go where they ain't wanted and all that, but not me, honey. This is a lie. Wilhelmina Othello Johnson goes anywhere, anytime she feels like it." With head movements for emphasis. "Yes, I do. Why, if we left it up to these here crackers, the poor," it's the N-word, "wouldn't have nothing." She clasps her hands over her mouth. "Oh, I always forgets you. Don't low that word in your house." So, Mrs. Johnson says the N-word. She's black. She can say it. Mama doesn't like that word in the house. I don't say it because I'm white. And even like a white person saying it out loud and quoting it is often seen, well, it is racist and offensive to a lot of people, which is why I didn't say it on this video. I can see why this might have been cut from the play at first. I think this is an extremely important scene with Mrs. Johnson because she's coming in and saying like, white people are kicking black people out of these neighborhoods and stuff like that. And white people who might have come to this play might have felt offended by that. And maybe the people producing the play didn't want to kick up so much controversy and to get people against the play. So I can actually see why this scene was cut, unfortunately. Even though I feel that this is telling it how it is. This is what Black people were experiencing in this time and to an extent still experience. And people cut it so that the play wouldn't drum up more controversy because it's meant to take place present day. Okay. Mama, quietly looking at her. No, I don't allow it. Johnson, vigorously again. Me neither. I was just telling Isaiah yesterday when coming using it in front of me, I said, Isaiah, it's just like Miss Younger says all the time. Mama, don't you want some more pie? Johnson, no, thank you. This was lovely. I gotta get on over home and have my midnight coffee. I hear some people say it don't let them sleep, but I finds I can't close my eyes right lessen I done had that last cup of coffee. She waits a beat, undaunted. My good night coffee, I calls it. Mama, with much eye-rolling and communication between herself and Ruth. So Ruth and Mama are annoyed with Mrs. Johnson. Ruth, why don't you give Miss Johnson some coffee? Ruth gives Mama an unpleasant look for her kindness. Johnson, accepting the coffee. Where's brother tonight? Mama, he's lying down. Johnson, He sure gets his beauty rest, don't he? Good-looking man, sure is a good-looking man. Reaching out to pat Ruth's stomach again. I guess that's how come we keep on having babies round here, she winks at Mama. One thing about brother, he always know how to have a good time, and so ambitious. I bet it was his idea y'all moving out to Clybourne Park. Lord, I bet this time next month y'all's names will have been in the papers plenty. Holding up her hands to mark off each word of the headline she can see in front of her. Negroes invade Clybourne Park, bombed. Mama, she and Ruth look at the woman in amazement. We ain't exactly moving out there to get bombed. Johnson, oh, honey, you know I'm praying to God every day that don't nothing like that happen, but you have to think of life like it is. And these here Chicago Peckerwoods is some bad Peckerwoods. And she's saying the racist white people in Chicago are dangerous. And so it does actually sound like the footnote said it was just that the people had been forced out of the neighborhood, but it sounds like it was violent. Like they might have actually bombed the house or, yeah. So it's really bad. Yeah, the footnotes sometimes sanitize what's happening in the text, where the footnotes say, oh, well, they were forced out. As opposed to like they were violently kicked out, the house was destroyed, the house was bombed because they didn't want those people there. It was the same with the word faggot that came up earlier. It was like, oh, it translated to girlish looking shoes, but that's really, I mean, they're referring to someone who's gay. So yeah, the footnotes are helpful, but also not my favorite, I think. Okay. Mama, wearily. We done thought about this, Miss Johnson. Beneatha comes out of the bedroom in her robe and passes through to the bathroom. Mrs. Johnson turns. Johnson. Hello there, Benny. Beneatha, crisply. Hello, Mrs. Johnson. Johnson, insulted. Getting so she don't have much to say to nobody. Mama. The child was on her way to the bathroom. So what we're learning about Mrs. Johnson is she has terrible boundaries. She wants everyone to talk to her. She expects that everyone will give her time. Even though she's annoying, she just talks about things she can't change. She's making the Younger family worried about moving to Clybourne Park and then keeps talking. Yeah, so the way she's talking, she's clearly unwelcome. And she clearly annoys everybody all of the time. She's not a good person you want as a neighbor. Johnson. I know, but sometimes she act like she ain't got time to pass the time of day with nobody. Ain't been to college. So she's saying she doesn't like to talk to anyone who isn't educated. Oh, I ain't criticizing her none. It's just you know how some of our young people gets when they get a little education. Mama and Ruth say nothing, just look at her. Yes, well, I guess I better get on home. Unmoving. Course, I can understand how she must be proud and everything, being the only one in the family to make something of herself. I know just being a chauffeur ain't never satisfied brother none. He shouldn't feel like that, though. Ain't nothing wrong with being a chauffeur. Mama, there's plenty wrong with it. Johnson, what? Mama, plenty. My husband always said being any kind of a servant wasn't a fit thing for a man to have to be. He always said a man's hands was made to make things, or to turn the earth with, not to drive nobody's car for him, or she looks at her own hands. Carry they slop jars, and my boy is just like them. He wasn't meant to wait on nobody. So basically, Mama's talking about her life as somebody's maid, where carry they slop jars, which means empty the toilets. And yeah, Walter wasn't made to be a servant to anyone, and neither was Mama. But that's what has ended up happening. Johnson, rising, somewhat offended. The youngers is too much for me. She looks around. You sure one proud-acting bunch of colored folks. Well, I always think, like Booker T. Washington said that time, education has spoiled many a good plow hand. So, yeah, Booker T. Washington said that, like, education has made many blacks ungrateful and unwilling to work. So what we're... Mama, is that what Booker T. said? Johnson, he sure did. Mama, well, it sounds just like him, the fool. Johnson, indignantly. Well, he was one of our great men. Mama, who said so? Johnson, nonplussed. You know, me and you ain't never agreed about some things, Lena Younger. I guess I better be going. Ruth, quickly. Good night. Johnson, good night. Oh, thrusting it at her. You can keep the paper. With a trill. Night. Mama, good night, Miss Johnson. Mrs. Johnson exits. So what we can see with Mrs. Johnson is a lot of internalized racism. So education has spoiled many a good plow hand, or education has made many blacks ungrateful and unwilling to work. So basically, it seems like Mrs. Johnson believes that black people should be working under white people, or education has made them ungrateful because they want something more than what they have, and they're now not willing to work and do the work that they were doing when they were slaves, because we see the plow up there, slave labor in terms of like tilling soil and stuff like that, which is really messed up. Yeah, so she's basically implying with her words that she thinks black people are under white people. And Mrs. Johnson is black. So sometimes when you're in a marginalized group, you can sometimes be against yourself and have prejudices against your race or your identity. And we're seeing that with Mrs. Johnson. And that's not the fault of the minority group that's happening to. It's the fault of the society that makes them think that way, and that makes them think that they're worth less than the other people around them, or in this case, the white people around them. So that's really important. Yeah, I can see why this scene was really controversial, because it both brings up like basically white people essentially like forcing black people out of the neighborhood violently, potentially like lynching. And then it also has internalized racism. So I'm glad that this scene is often it's back in this play, and I think it's performed now more often, but yeah, I can see why it was so controversial at the time this book came out. Okay, Ruth. If ignorance was gold. So she's basically saying she doesn't know anything. Like if ignorance was gold, she'd be rich basically, because she knows so little. Mama, shush. Don't talk about folks behind their backs. Ruth, you do. Mama, I'm old and corrupted. That's hilarious. Mama saying that she's old and not able to change. Beneatha enters, and Mama keeps talking. You was rude to Miss Johnson, Beneatha, and I don't like it at all. Beneatha, at her door. Mama, if there are two things we as people have got to overcome, One is the Ku Klux Klan and the other is Mrs. Johnson. That's so bad. So the Ku Klux Klan is a group of people who are racist and white, and they like go after people, black people, and lynch them. They're the ones who dress up in like the white pointed hats and all in white, and they would often go and burn down black people's houses and things like that. And the Ku Klux Klan, it's not totally dead. There are still people in the Ku Klux Klan, which is also super messed up. But Benitha is comparing Mrs. Johnson, a black woman who is has a lot of internalized racism, to the Ku Klux Klan, which is also really messed up. Okay, Benitha exits. Mama, smart aleck. The phone rings. Ruth, I'll get it. Mama, Lord, ain't this a popular place tonight? Ruth, at the phone. Hello, just a minute. Goes to door. Walter, it's Mrs. Arnold. Waits, goes back to the phone. Tense. Hello, yes. This is his wife speaking. He's lying down now. Yes. Well, he'll be in tomorrow. He's been very sick. Yes, I know we should have called, but we were so sure he'd be able to come in today. Yes, I'm very sorry. Yes, thank you very much. She hangs up. Walter's standing in the doorway of the bedroom behind her. That was Mrs. Arnold. Walter, indifferently. Was it? So Walter hasn't been showing up to work to drive the car. That's what we can get from that. And he's not really sick, but he just hasn't been showing up. Ruth, she said if you don't come in tomorrow that they are getting a new man. Walter, ain't that sad? Ain't that crying sad? Ruth, she said Mr. Arnold has had to take a cab for 3 days. Walter, you ain't been to work for 3 days? This is a revelation to her, so it's news to her. Where you been, Walter Lee Younger? Walter looks at her and starts to laugh. You're going to lose your job. Walter, that's right. He turns on the radio. Ruth, oh, Walter, and with your mother working like a dog every day. A steamy, deep blues pours into the room. Walter, that's sad too. Everything is sad. Mama, what you been doing for these 3 days, son? Walter, Mama, you don't know all the things a man what got leisure can find to do in this city. What's this, Friday night? Well, Wednesday I borrowed Willie Harris's car and I went for a drive. Just me and myself, and I drove and drove. Way out, way past South Chicago, and I parked the car and I sat and looked at the steel mills all day long. I just sat in the car and looked at them, big black chimneys, for hours. Then I drove back and I went to the Green Hat. Pause. And Thursday I borrowed the car again and I got in it and I pointed it the other way and I drove the other way for hours. Way up to Wisconsin, and I looked at the farms. I just drove and looked at the farms. Then I drove back and I went to the Green Hat. Pause. And today I didn't get the car. Today I just walked all over the South Side and I looked at the Negroes and they looked at me, and finally I just sat down on the curb at 39th and South Parkway and I just sat there and watched the Negroes go by, and then I went to the Green Hat. You all sad? You all depressed? And you know where I'm going right now? Ruth goes out quietly. And so Ruth is talking about going to Walter's talking about going to the bar. Like the Green Hat is, you can tell based on context clues that it's a bar. And now he's planning on going to the bar again. Mama, oh, big Walter, is this the harvest of our days? And Mama's asking, have you decided to quit working and become a drunk? Walter, you know what I like about the Green Hat? I like this little cat they got there who blows the sax. He blows, he talks to me. He ain't but about 5 feet tall, and he's got a conked head, and his eyes is always closed, and he's all music. So he's talking about a short guy who plays the saxophone with straightened hair, and he likes that he plays music. Mama, rising and getting some papers out of her handbag. Walter, and there's this other guy who plays the piano, and they got a sound. I mean, they can work on some music. They got the best little combo in the world in the Green Hat. You can just sit there and drink and listen to them three play Then 3 men play and you realize that don't nothing matter worth a damn, but just being there. Mama, I've helped to do it to you, haven't I, son? Walter, I've been wrong. Walter, nah, you ain't never been wrong about nothing, Mama. Mama, listen to me now. I say I've been wrong, son, that I've been doing to you what the rest of the world been doing to you. She turns off the radio. Walter. She stops and he looks up slowly at her and she meets his eyes pleadingly. What you ain't never understood is that I ain't got nothing, don't own nothing, ain't never really wanted nothing that wasn't for you. There ain't nothing as precious to me. There ain't nothing worth holding on to. Money, dreams, nothing else. If it means it's going to destroy my boy. She takes an envelope out of her handbag and puts it in front of him, and he watches her without speaking or moving. I paid the man $3,500 down on the house. That leaves $6,500. Monday morning, I want you to take this money and take $3,000 and put it in a savings account for Beneatha's medical schooling. The rest you put in a checking account with your name on it, and from now on, any penny that come out of it or that go in it is for you to look after, for you to decide. She drops her hands a little helplessly. It ain't much, but it's all I got in the world, and I'm putting it in your hands. I'm telling you to be the head of this family from now on like you're supposed to be. Walter stares at the money. You trust me like that, Mama? Mama, I ain't never stopped trusting you, like I ain't never stopped loving you. She goes out, and Walter sits looking at the money on the table. Finally, in a decisive gesture, he gets up and in mingled joy and desperation picks up the money. At the same moment, Travis enters for bed. Okay, so we've seen Mama really change, actually, where she at first was telling Beneatha, like, oh, you should be with George, and she was telling Walter, like, I will never give you money for that liquor store. But now she's finally showing, like, look, I believe in you. I want you to do with this money what you can with it, what you think is best for your family. And has finally stopped putting him down, too, and putting her family down, and instead believing in her children and what they want, and letting them go after what they want, which is a change from the beginning, because she's watching her family fall apart and be destroyed because they can't go after their dreams and what they want. And all she wants is, and her dream, she's saying, is for her family to be happy and to live a good life, and she wants them to do well by themselves, and if the money will help them, she wants to give it to them. Okay, Travis, what's the matter, Daddy? You drunk? Walter, sweetly, more sweetly than we have ever known him. No, Daddy ain't drunk. Daddy ain't going to never be drunk again. Travis, well, good night, Daddy. The father has come from behind the couch and leans over, embracing his son. Walter, son, I feel like talking to you tonight. Travis, about what? Walter, oh, about a lot of things. About you and what kind of man you're going to be when you grow up. Son, what do you want to be when you grow up? Travis, a bus driver. Walter, laughing a little. A what? Man, that ain't nothing to want to be. Travis, why not? Walter, 'cause man, it ain't big enough, you know what I mean? It's like he's saying it's not an important job, or like you can dream bigger than that. Travis, I don't know then. I can't make up my mind. Sometimes Mama asks me that too. And sometimes when I tell her I just want to be like you, she says she don't want me to be like that, and sometimes she says she does. Walter, gathering him up in his arms. You know what, Travis? In 7 years, you're going to be 17 years old, and things is going to be very different with us in 7 years, Travis. One day when you are 17, I'll come home from my office downtown somewhere. Travis, you don't work in no office, Daddy. Walter, no, but after tonight, after what your daddy gonna do tonight, there's going to be offices, a whole lot of offices. Travis, what you gonna do tonight, Daddy? Walter, you wouldn't understand yet, son, but your daddy's gonna make a transaction, a business transaction that's going to change our lives. That's how come one day when you about 17 years old, I'll come home and I'll be pretty tired, You know what I mean, after a day of conferences and secretaries getting things wrong the way they do, because an executive's life is hell, man. The more he talks, the farther away he gets, and I'll pull the car up on the driveway, just a plain black Chrysler, I think, with white walls, no black tires, more elegant. Rich people don't have to be flashy. Though I'll have to get something a little sportier for Ruth, maybe a Cadillac convertible to do her shopping in. And I'll come up the steps of the house and the gardener will be clipping away at the hedges and he'll say, "Good evening, Mr. Younger." And I'll say, "Hello, Jefferson. How are you this evening?" And I'll go inside and Ruth will come downstairs and meet me at the door and we'll kiss each other and she'll take my arm and we'll go up to your room to see you sitting on the floor with the catalogs of all the great schools in America around you, all the great schools in the world. And I'll say, "All right, son, it's your 17th birthday. What is it you've decided? Just tell me where you want to go to school and you'll go. Just tell me, what is it you want to be and you'll be it. Whatever you want to be." "Yes, sir." He holds his arms open for Travis. "You just name it, son." Travis leaps into them, and I hand you the world. Walter's voice has risen in pitch and hysterical promise, and on the last line he lifts Travis high. Okay. And then there's a blackout. That's the end of the scene, and that's the end of where we're going to read. There is more of the book left, about maybe 30, 40 50 pages. I had to do the math in my head for a second. And Walter's really talking about hope now. He's talking about a business transaction. He's saying basically a business deal. He's going to give money to somebody, and it's going to be an investment. It's going to get him more money in the long term. And he's going to make a lot of money from basically investing in this thing that he wants to do, which I think he's talking about the liquor store. And he's saying they're going to be rich, they're going to have 2 cars. He's talking about the American dream. He has hope again. Mama has given him hope again. And then he's telling Travis that he's going to be able to go to whatever school he wants. They're going to have enough money to send him to whatever college he wants. And he's going to give Travis the world because he's finally going to have enough money. Okay, so we're ending on hope, which is good, especially after seeing that scene with Mrs. Johnson. To me, that is one of the most bleak or depressing scenes that we've read, just because we can see what might happen to the Younger family in Clybourne Park if they move there, because they might be forced out by the white people who live there. Okay, so that's all I have for you. This is the end of our time together with this book. So I hope you really enjoyed it. I really love A Raisin in the Sun. I think I appreciate it more now that I'm older. I hope someday you reread this book or you finish it. All right, bye everyone.